conscious reality of what's taking place to this subconscious reality, and Frank is, picking up all these parts and pieces and trying to put it together, and then all these other characters are introduced, and it becomes so intense that, and then when you get to Grit, what I find in Grit is the very hard reality of everything that happened. And then we transition to Blind Trust, and it all kind of culminates there. So it's actually a work of art, John. The way that you have been able to, it really is. It's amazing how you've been able to weave these three. And now we're going to, pick up, these parts in Blind Trust. So you really have an incredible style. So now, before you get to the part about Blind Trust, because I just have a couple of comments that I personally want to make. I find Blind Trust is a little bit on the slow start. It took me a little bit to get into it. But what I liked was the complexity of your work. It's kind of like what you did in Vig and Grit. You did it double in Blind Trust. So it's very complex, and it's like this giant puzzle, which is why I love the cover of Blind Trust, is because there's like these images on the cover, and they're parts and pieces, and you're like, okay, what is that puzzle about? But there's this thread that runs on the cover of the book, and it ties it all together. Everything that happened from the Vig to the Grit all culminates into this financial thriller series. So that's my thoughts on it. I do want to say, and you've heard this from me before, not to belabor it, but I don't like the graphic violence in the books. However, you are able to masterfully weave in between those parts and come out with one incredible long story through all three books. So that's my take on it.
Well, thank you very much. A couple things. First of all, the 9/11, it is true. And when I first started the Vig, the 9/11 real scene is the prologue of the Vig, and that was my personal story. Now, what I wanted to do was, it would be disingenuous not to include that in a story about Wall Street in that era. It was just such and it is true that was the beginning of, it changed the world, certainly, but it changed that part of New York. It changed New York. It changed the financial industry. It's just indisputable. So that was a big part of it, and that is a part, there's dabbles of that throughout it's like, I look at it like World War II as compared to Casablanca. Casablanca isn't about World War II, but, it affected every single decision that was made along the way.
Nice analogy.
Well, I would hope that my book would be like Casablanca. But anyway, and the other part was, as far as the violence, and people have said this, but what I will say about that is, once again, this is not be disingenuous. These were violent people. I mean, these are violent. This Carla is a violent, psychotic person, and she's not gonna tie somebody up where they could sneak away, and you know what I mean. It's not one of those Austin Powers where we figure that he's going to die and we're not going to see it, and then later you see that they got away. This was she was hardcore, so I thought the scene should be hardcore. Now with Blind Trust, I was thinking a lot about Blind Trust, and because someone asked me recently if I could put together a soundtrack for my books, what it would be. So I was thinking about music and the influence of music, and I would think that Grit certainly is like heavy metal, the Vig is sort of rock and roll, but I look at Blind Trust as more like jazz, where it is more complex, and I purposely tried to let it play itself out. When I wrote Blind Trust, I a lot of times I didn't have it planned out ahead of time what I was going to write, and I literally thought, like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? And I wrote that. So I had the beginning, and I knew what the last line of the book was going to be. But beyond that, I let it flow as it came to me. And as far as tying it all together, the good thing about doing a series, or in an unintentional series, is that I knew these characters so well. Like, by now, I could tell you what Frank's fourth grade English teacher was like and how she used to dress. I just know this character so well that I knew the way that they would react. I knew what they would do. I knew what would be next for them, because I've gotten to the point where, I feel like they're a part of me, these characters. So Blind Trust is there's a transition at the very, very beginning for Frank and for Cat Wells, who is his partner and close friend. And Cat is introduced in Grit, and I really like her. I like her character. And this one, the overarching theme is about major corporate greed. I mean, like the Goldman Sachses of the world, and how they do these. They get fined for all these nefarious acts, but no one ever goes to jail. There's really no justice. They pay a $5 billion fine for stealing $50 billion. So that is the genesis of that story. And a new character, Ben Hirsch, joins the group, and he used to work for the Securities and Exchange Commission, and he is, an investigator into Wall Street crime, and how they get caught up in this story. But it really is the previous two, I look at them as character-driven. I believe that Blind Trust is more relationship-driven, because it is the heart of the story is about the relationship between Frank and Brogan, who became a father figure to him. And this new character, Ben Hirsch, and one of his dearest friend for life is in peril, and how Ben reacts to that. And Cat Wells forms a relationship with a widow, and how their relationship motivates Cat Wells to make changes in her life and to take action. And then, you see, as they go along, you see the progression and the growth of Frank as a person, how now he starts to become the father figure. That happens in life, the things that happen, and these transitions that happen in people's lives without even realizing. Suddenly you turn around and look back and go, wow, I'm the one who's making the decisions now. It seems like just yesterday that I was looking up to someone else. And that's a lot of what the story is. And of course, there's action, and as is my style, there is harsh consequences to the misdeeds of the bad guys, and some would call it justice, but I really like it. Like I said, it's more like jazz to me. It's more complex. It's more layered. There were times when I was writing it when I was moved by certain things in it, in the way that, just little things, how one character, Pat Martinez, how he thinks about his father when he's in distress. I try to put in things like that. A conversation between Cat Wells and the widow, and how the widow looks vulnerable like she never saw her before, and how the widow tells a little story about her and her husband from years ago that seems just out of the blue, but these are the things that you hear and see or experience that mold your character and mold your actions moving forward. So that is really what I wanted to get into.
And I think you.
Go ahead.
I think you accomplished that quite nicely. And although there are events in your book, and it starts out with a major event, but you're right. As you transition into the books and you go through the series, it really is more about the characters. Okay, so that was a great preview, a recap of the Big and the Grit, and also a preview of Blind Trust. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a commercial break, and then we are going to return back with with Carol Roman and Michael Philip Cash. So everyone stay tuned, because next we're going to talk about these amazing videos that John has for his books. So we'll be right back after this break.
Whoa, a digital music player. Thanks, Mom.
Glad you like it. We can finally toss out that old massive stereo.
Mom, you can't just throw out electronics. They need to be recycled or donated.
Recycled? Like aluminum cans?
Yeah, you just go to greenergadgets.org, enter your zip code, and it tells you where the nearest certified recycling center is.
I knew that.
Okay, Mom.
Recycling electronics is as easy as buying them. Log on to greenergadgets.org to find electronics recycling options near you.
Welcome back. This is Lady Selah Suturis, and you are listening to International Radio Tours, managed and directed through Storytellers-Campfire. We are on XRQK Los Angeles and Airtime America, so welcome everyone to the Global Campfire. Now, we've been talking about John Nuckel, and we got a preview or a recap of the Vig, Grit, and a preview of Blind Trust. But there's a few elements that are really important for authors today. And we know that many authors are taking it very serious and paying attention to the social media, which is a critical point in helping authors expand in their audience. Blogging is another critical point. But there's something else that has been coming up and is becoming more and more popular, and that's videos. They can be an excellent marketing tool for authors. Now, video searches are increasing, so if you have a book and you want to be found, having a video can feature your book, and it can be a great advantage in today's ever-changing publishing world. So today, it is our pleasure to introduce, and we have two well-respected authors and business professionals who have viewed John Nuckel's videos, and they were willing to come here on the program today and share their comments about the videos for the Rector ST Series. So, without further ado, we want to welcome to the program Carol P. Roman. Welcome, Carol.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. I love coming on the Storytellers Campfire.
Oh, you've been a great support to the program, and it's always a privilege to share your books. Carol's the author of the Captain No Beard series, and we have a lot of fun on those shows. And then also the If You Were Me